Good morning, everybody, and a happy Monday morning to you. This is another really super long video because number one, we have a lot of royal family stuff. We're catching up because I've held it off due to Harry and Meghan's last full day in Australia. But we are going to cover that as well. So again, you guys always say you like the long videos. Here's your chance to prove it. Oh my God. All right, let's jump in. Let's cover. Let's go. We are going to start off with the fabulous Princess Royal, Princess Anne. On April 16th, she acted as the guest of honor at the Britannia Royal Naval College. She took the salute at the First Lord High Admiral's Division's Passing Out Parade of 2026. She was there representing the King. There were 155 new officers, including 126 young officers and 29 people that were promoted. I think this is wonderful. Now, this is the end of 29 weeks of intensive training. Anne holds the rank of Admiral in the Royal Navy. She inspected the new officers. There were 16 sailors promoted from the ranks and 13 ward officers promoted directly to the officer corps. Now, this was attended by family, friends, distinguished guests, and she gave a speech. I want you to hear her voice. Listen to this.
For those commissioning today, you do so at a particularly challenging time. Technology evolves rapidly. The demands on the service grow, and the character of maritime operations continues to shift. You all have to learn quickly. Yet one constant remains. It will always be the people who deliver operational success. Your responsibility is to lead them well, to support them, occasionally challenge them, and help them to fulfill their potential. Ladies and gentlemen, I congratulate you all on what you have achieved, and I wish you every success in the service and duty that lies ahead.
There's something about her voice that reminds me of the Queen, obviously as her daughter, but I just thought that was a wonderful speech. How great. Let's continue. Now, also, it appears on the 16th, while still in her uniform, Princess Anne went with her fabulous husband, Vice Admiral Sir Tim Lawrence, who happens to be Vice President of the RNLI, the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, to go and open a new lifeboat station, which I think is just wonderful. Now, during this visit, she saw volunteer lifeboat crews, fundraisers, the visitor center team, operational and station support teams, and lifeguards based in South Devon. Of course, she unveiled a fabulous plaque, What's Not to Love there, and then we're going to move on to our next event, but we're still sticking with Princess Anne. The day before that, on the 15th, Princess Anne, on behalf of her brother, held an investiture at Windsor Castle. This is her 11th investiture for 2026 and the 17th of the royal family for 2026. Let's move on now to Duchess Sophie. Remember, she went to that painting event? Well, on the same day, which was on the 15th, Sophie, as patron of Plan International UK, attended a conference to draw attention to the third anniversary of the war in Sudan and all of its atrocities. She talked about the conflict at a roundtable that was hosted by Plan International UK at their charity's office in London. She met some of the youth from Sudan. She left messages of support. It looks like 150,000 people have died so far. All right, let's move on now to the Duke of Edinburgh, Sophie's fabulous husband. He was on the Isle of Wight. I believe that this occurred on the 16th, and he went to two different institutions. So one of the first things that he did was he went to Brading Roman Villa. He met representatives at the museum. So he met representatives from the museum. He had lunch. He toured the area. He spoke with the volunteers. These, by the way, may not all be in the correct order, but he had 4 separate venues. So when he was done there at that place, he went to the Creative Arts Center, Quay arts. He went to the Braiding Youth and Community Center on High Street, where he spoke to children and volunteers and presented a King's Award for Voluntary Service to Ginny Byrne, who is chair of Braiding Community Partnership. Edward, while he was also at the Braiding Roman Villa, met the new High Sheriff there. Now, a couple of other stops that he made were at the Ventnor Exchange when he was there. I mean, he was just very, very busy. I've told you guys before that he had appeared to have lost a lot of weight. I don't think he's put the weight back on, but the weight loss has stopped. So he's looking a little healthier than he did right after his mother passed. Next up, we have the Duchess of Gloucester. On April 14th, she visited the Blackthorn Trust Health and Community Hub in Kent. They're having their 40th anniversary, and she was there to meet people who are benefiting from their 6-month mental health support programs. I have always liked her, and I think she looks lovely. Let's move on now to her husband, who on the 14th visited the Chiltern Open Air Museum in Chalfont, St. Peter, Buckinghamshire, to celebrate its 50th anniversary. I also like him very much. Let's move on now to Prince Michael of Kent. He invited submariners to dine with him to celebrate the contribution of reservists to frontline water operations. This was done at the historic Naval and Military Club, better known as the In and Out Club. Love it. All right, next up, I just had to put this out. Finally, there's an actual spotting of Sarah Ferguson. They've seen her, they've taken her picture. She's at a luxury chalet in the Austrian Alps where she's been laying low. So my question is, who's paying for that? So we know that in March, members of Congress urged her to give sworn testimony about her disgraced friendship and connections with, Epstein. She hasn't said anything. She hasn't done anything. But I find it interesting that she's staying there. I want to know who's paying. It's time, you guys. Harry and Meghan. So Meghan went out for a walk in the morning. Marcus Anderson was with her. And when the Paps saw them, they immediately turned and ran for the car. Look how many security is with them. Like, for what? As soon as Marcus Anderson was spotted, mainstream media was like, oh my God, look, Gemma O'Neill, who organized The Best Life, it turns out is friends with Marcus Anderson. Well, the YouTubers already reported on that. You're a little behind the times, mainstream media. Now, here come Harry and Meghan for their first event of the day. They went to the Bondi Surf Bathers Life-Saving Club, which I think was... First of all, they went for a walk on the beach. Let's just start with that, okay? So they go for a walk on the beach, and there was a ton of security around them. I couldn't figure out why there was so much security, but they watched some life-saving events, and, they saw one of the boats going in the surf, and here comes Meghan. She's walking along, sunglasses on, sunglasses off, a huge police presence, although I can't tell why, because there were lots of people on the beach. Nobody was really interested in them, I got to be honest. They're on the beach where a terror attack took place. And this, my friends, is why they're calling them tragedy tourists. What are they doing on a beach where a terror attack took place, posing for photos, glasses on, glasses off? And then, of course, they use a little girl for some PR. He's meeting with some Invictus people. Oh, look, Meghan tells the little girl, Harry can twirl. He loves to twirl. And then they hand her these flip-flops. And she's like, you would have thought they were handing her a tiara. Oh my God, look. And she turns around to show them to people. Look, oh my God, I just love them. They're just so fabulous. I mean, she over-emotes. You guys will never see those flip-flops again. And the second she gets home, they're probably going to go in the bin. But once again, they're using other people's children and other events for PR. It's disgusting. Now, let me just say, this little girl was my hero because Meghan tried to get her interested. The little girl was like, don't touch my painting. Get away from me. This child was not interested in her at all. Like kids know. Now, I want to say that merching the clothes that you wear while you're visiting children without masks on and where you go to an event, where there was a terror attack is just beyond disgusting. And we've seen this outfit before, haven't we? That she's trying so hard to merch. It was up on the website before she even got out of there. But this clothing that she's merching on the website, I agree with the writer of this article. A lot of the outfits she bought are stiff, impractical, horribly aging, and for myself, ridiculously overpriced. The normal person isn't going to spend $3,200 on a skirt or $900 on a mini dress, which is way too short for her anyway. Now, this is where I'm going to get upset. Most of you know I'm Jewish, full-blooded Jew. And I am absolutely disgusted that these two decided to take the Bondi Beach shooting that left 15 people dead and turn it into a PR opportunity. I find it beyond disgusting. Meghan tries to make herself look like she gives two craps. I don't see any tears coming out of her eyes. I don't see her nose turning red. I think she's full of... You guys know I don't usually curse. I think she's full of shit. And this is why they call her a tragedy tourist. And this was not on their itinerary. And there's a good reason why, because people know that she's full of it. She doesn't care. This is just another chance for a PR opportunity. I'm disgusted. And in case you didn't notice, the claw is back. Who hugs with their fingers like that? It's weird. And a big thank you to Temu Duchess for pointing this out. I noticed it, but I wasn't going to say anything. But yeah, her striped shirt. Bad look. I feel like they only met with the survivors of this shooting because of their failed trip to Jordan, where they were at a facility with Hamas sympathizers working there. And then Harry made that unfortunate call for Israel to open the aid corridors into Gaza, even though they were already open, causing an invitation to be given by Israel for Prince Harry to visit, which of course he never acknowledged. So they leave that event. They leave that event and they get on a boat filled with former participants of Invictus Games, and they're chatting and laughing, and then they get on the boat and they go around the harbor, which is what they did years ago when they were there also. What they were doing here, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but they were trying to recreate the boat tour that they took for Invictus, where they both wore Invictus gear, I might add, back in 2018. So they're trying to recreate back when they were working royals. Notice the guy with the camera, because this is all being filmed for Archwell. You'll see these pictures again in these show up and do good things that they put out. I mean, it's ridiculous. But let's talk now about what was really going on. This is very controlled. These events that you're looking at were not open to the general public, because I think they knew if they were open to the general public, they'd get booed. It would be ugly. They try to make it look like there was all this public waiting to meet them. There wasn't. First of all, look at these pictures. That's Catherine and William's tour. We have King Charles's tour. I mean, people came out. Then you have Harry and Meghan. Yep. And those people behind them that you see are family members from Invictus people that are there. This was highly controlled so that there would be no booing, nobody yelling, "Hey, Meghan, how's your dad?" None of that was going on. They made sure none of that was going to take place. Now, this woman comes up out of the blue. Apparently, Harry had met her mother, and she's showing Harry a picture. Well, Meghan can't have that. She has to get in on it. She can't let this man have anything on his own, I'm telling you. A really quick thank you also to Prince William's Jaw on Twitter for pointing out, I thought Getty didn't accept pictures that were, altered. Now, when this was over, it was time to go to the very expensive, meet and greet that all these Australians had paid for. The amount of security, the metal detectors, the bag searches, it was a non-negotiable security requirement. And of course, Meghan started talking about her life, how hard it was. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. People paid a ton of money to hear how proud she was of her two children and how her wedding was normal and amazing, but insisted she had endured constant attacks for a decade. Yes, it was another moan fest. And this is Meghan's problem and why she hasn't learned anything. And she continues to go on and on about herself. By the way, the room was so empty, they brought Harry and Marcus Anderson. That's right, to a women's only event. But I'll tell you who didn't have trouble filling the room. And that was Pamela Anderson, who was there at the same time. Now they're calling this Meg stock. Okay, yeah, just roll with me for a second here. So, of course, these are the pictures that were put out. And then there's a video that came out. I had to take the sound out, but you can look at the bottom. Basically, they gifted her an expensive painting, and which, again, you'll never see it. It doesn't go with the insides of her house. It doesn't go with her color scheme. It'll be thrown somewhere and never seen again. And then at the end, after gifting her something else, she stands up and they stand there for photos. Look how wonderful, look how wonderful. You can't really see how empty the room is yet, but hang on, you'll see it. First of all, look to the left again. There's Harry, there's Marcus Anderson. It was noticed by people that Harry didn't wait for Meghan to get off the stage. He literally just rushed out really quickly. He didn't collect her from the stage, and people thought that that was very odd. Well, maybe they had a fight before the event. Now, this is where it starts to get a little weird. Remember, women paid extra for photos with Meghan. So I guess at the end of the event, they went to the other side of the room, right? And that's where the stage was. They're on the stage getting their photos taken. Now, a big thank you to one of my subscribers, or one of my, yeah, she's on Twitter. Her handle is ZX81Chick. First of all, she gave me this menu, which I agree looks very ordinary for that kind of money paid. FYI, goodie bags were given out with flower sprinkles and some of the as ever products in them. You know, the stuff that's getting ready to expire that she's got to get rid of. This is what I think is weird. Notice how the tables are half done. So I think they had to sit on one side of the table so they couldn't eat while the event was going on, and then switch around to the other side of the table so that they could eat after Meghan left. Because guess what? After paying the extra $500 for the VIP experience, getting the picture with Meghan, she left. She was there for a whole 2 hours. That's the quickest $250,000 she ever made. And she got in her car and she left. Let me say that people really were upset that they left after only 2 hours. And some people went out by the pool to have their alcohol. I'm assuming most of the women that were there, well, somebody, I don't know who, but kudos to you, took the time to actually count how many people were there. Yeah, it's not good. I don't know who did that picture. I'd love to give them credit because they're brilliant. And now it's coming out that people are complaining that Meghan was only there for 2 hours. They knew she wasn't going to be there the whole weekend. But for that kind of money, they were expecting more than a 2 hour little something. They got ripped off. You got ripped off, people. That's what you get. By the way, if you want to dress like Meghan did that night, it's only going to cost you $55,000. But who cares? Because she got paid $250,000 for 2 hours of talking. FYI, for those of you who don't know it, the Sydney Telegraph, Daily Telegraph, got a reporter inside, and that's how they were able to write the piece that they did. So what did Harry and Meghan do? Well, they decided to head off to a rugby game. They showed up again in like a 3 or 4 car motorcade. I don't know what she is. Her assistant was there. Marcus Anderson was there. They all went together to this rugby match, and they show up in the motorcade. I don't know who that man was or why this woman ended up being the one to open the door. But here comes Harry, here comes Meghan, and there's a line of officials to greet them. And I'm assuming these are officials from the rugby match. Now watch Meghan. She puts her hand forward and basically tells Harry, it's okay for you to go ahead. And they work their way down the line. Notice Meghan also pushes her sleeve up and then puts her hands up so that you can be sure to see her wrist and her gold. Let me show this again to you in slow motion. Look, Harry. Go ahead, Harry. You can go first. Now, this next bit shows you how immature Harry is. So Harry meets this guy. Then Meghan starts talking to this guy. You can see Harry's face. He's uncomfortable. He doesn't like it. He wants to try to stop it. Look what he does. Like, what the frick was that? And then they grab hands. Harry's like, come on, stop flirting with the guy. And they go up into the stands in order to watch rugby. Now, there's Marcus Anderson with a glass of alcohol in his hand. I keep wondering, have you guys noticed that every time they go somewhere, Marcus Anderson goes with them? I have always wondered why she's bringing Marcus Anderson along to every event that they go to. When this marriage breaks up, Harry's the one who's going to say, there were 3 of us in this marriage, you know, me, Meghan, and Marcus Anderson. Does that man not have a life somewhere else? Really? I mean, does he not have family somewhere else? For some reason, he tags along to every single thing that they do. It's so freaking weird. Now, I really feel the need to point out to you guys that there's been no notifications, not from the hospital, not from Bondi Beach, not from the lifesavers, not from the university. There has been no notifications from any of these very carefully curated stops that they have made any donations to any of them. You guys know that if they make a donation, they scream it from the rooftops. Always. You will know if they make a donation. Always. And so obviously this tells you that this entire tour for all of their stops at the War Memorial, nope, didn't make a donation. The Royal Hospital, nope, didn't make a donation. Nothing. This was nothing but Meghan trying to merch her clothes and self-promotion. That's all this was. I have to tell you, they try to make it, I don't know what else to say about them. They try to make it seem like this is all about a life of service. No, people are giving them things. They're going around. They're showing off. They're merching clothes. This is not a life of service. This is a life of self-service. Well, I don't know if the gift giving took place before or after this event, but I couldn't help but notice that Harry was sniffing I'm telling you, this man has severe mental problems. Who sniffs their shoes? It's like he's looking to get high at every turn. It's just the weirdest freaking thing to me. The next morning, in a 5-car motorcade, they headed to the airport to fly home. We don't know if it was a commercial flight or a private jet. I'm guessing private jet for going home, but that's just my thoughts. Now the controversy starts. You know, I've told you before they're Travity tourists, and let's be honest, Harry and Meghan left the royal family in 2020 because they said they wanted privacy. But by the 3rd day of this trip, Meghan was talking about her professional victimhood again. Every day for 10 years, I've been bullied and attacked. I'm the most trolled person in the world. She repeated that again at her Sydney event. And then you had Harry's comments at events hosted by the mental health charity Movember and the OUTRAGED. They were even worse. You know, while he's telling the BBC last year he wants a reconciliation, we know that his father can't trust him. So he took part in that discussion at the OUTRAGED Professional Development Summit and talked about how being a working royal killed his mother and he didn't want to be a working royal. Harry made it clear he's not on a royal tour. He's just a royal on tour. And so now Australian politicians and public groups want Harry and Meghan to reimburse the local police for the security costs that went on during this tour, which they claimed was privately funded. Among them is Australian MP David Limbrick, as well as other groups. Taxpayers shouldn't have to cover the cost for their private and commercial engagements. And that was done in Victoria and New South Wales. So now Harry's upset because, again, he feels that as the son of the king, he shouldn't have to pay for it. It should just be given to him. I want to end this with something that was said on the news, and it was extremely long. I've cut it down, but every word that this woman says is a nugget of wisdom. I hope Meghan hears it. Here you go.
Hello, this is Bev on GBN Originals. Now, criticising other women is not my natural habitat. And so if Meghan Markle is watching this, know that it comes with love, as ever, you might say, because Meghan Markle has taken her lack of personal insight to a new level. Speaking to young people in Australia, she said this, but I warn you, it's going to stretch your cringe capacity to the limit.
Insert here the part where Meghan talked to the group about being the most trolled woman in the world for 10 years.
Let me address this straight to Meghan. My love, if you are the most trolled person in the whole world, you might just be the problem. And I know that is harsh, and it takes real friends to hold up a mirror to our poor behaviour. But in the absence of you having any, clearly, get comfy, because the public loved you, Meghan. The wedding, the love between the two of you, the fact that you had saved Harry, who we all loved and felt so sorry for when he walked behind his mother's coffin. My God, we were rooting for you both. And the whole world did not just wake up one morning and collectively decide to dislike you. Sadly, you both chipped away at our affections unrelentingly until we could take no more. Public opinion shifts over time, and usually it's in response to what people see, hear, and crucially, what they feel they're being shown. And what people feel they're being shown again and again is something that is fake and inauthentic. You seem to lack empathy in grasping how you appear to the rest of the world. Why would the world hate you so much? Because you're a woman? No. The world loves many famous women. Because you are black? Not remotely. If you are the world's most hated, some of those haters are going to be black themselves. Is it because you're royal? No. Just look at Catherine, look at William, look at Zara Phillips and Camilla and the King. It's not because you're royal. It's largely because you are forever courting sympathy. From the Oprah interview to the Netflix series, you keep positioning yourself as misunderstood, when in fact, we think we know pretty well who you are. It's more that you don't understand who you are and, crucially, how fortunate you are. You go on to say this.
Inject here the part where she gave the quote that she didn't give credit for and how she wants everybody to protect their tender hearts and it's not going to be easy.
My wish for you is to continue to be who and how you are. No. Just no. That, Meghan Markle, is your problem. Nobody should continue to be exactly who they are. We must all be constantly learning and evolving and doing the work to understand ourselves better. Any friend who gives you a cup, which is effectively saying you are perfect as you are, is not a friend. It doesn't matter how much humour unburdens your tender heart. If you fail to understand yourself, you will constantly upset people and make mistakes. And you might just, end up being the most trolled person in the world. This millennial motto of being yourself is just nonsense. Not at your age. Maybe when you're 80, you can turn around and say, I know who I am, this is it. But not in your 40s. If you choose to listen, Meghan, people have been very clear for a long time about what rubs them up the wrong way about you. It's the contradictions, it's the sense of self-importance, the feeling that you want the platform of royalty without the constraints or responsibilities that come with it.
All right, you guys, I know that's a lot, but I really want your comments. You know I'm reading them, so make them good, put them down. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell, then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book, which remains up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wishlist, as well as my physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.